Welcome to PyanGo's Budgetary Control application. Budgetary Control is available as a NetSuite Suite App bundle that can be installed in your account. It provides real-time encumbrance accounting, also called commitment control, required by many enterprises. It provides detailed tracking of budgets to actuals throughout the procurement process. This video details how to manage PyanGo budget definitions. PyanGo budgets are maintained in a custom record in the NetSuite platform. You can access budget definitions by going to Transactions, Budgetary Control, and then Manage Budgets. Click on New to create a new budget definition. Let's review the setup details. You may enter a description such as CapEx or operating budget, depending on the type of transactions you are trying to control. Specify a start and ending date, and we'll just make this one for an annual budget. And then what's important is to identify the budget option, whether you are going to use control, which implies a hard stop and will not allow a user to save a transaction if it is over budget, or tracking generates a warning message but allows the user to save the transaction. The period can be monthly, quarterly, or annual. Annual can also be used for project inception to date so that a single budget can be established for a project duration. Tolerances can be specified as either a percentage of the budget line item or a actual dollar amount to allow for over budget scenarios. Check the Used Project flag if you want to use projects on transactions for budget checks. Typically OPEX or operation budgets would have this off, and CapEx or capital type projects would have it turned on. Now we'll go ahead and save this budget. At this point you will see a new tab called Budget Detail. This is where we will enter budget line items. Before doing this, let's review segmentation setup. Navigate to Departments. PyanGo has added a custom field called the Budget Definition Level. This needs to be turned on for each budget line item that we want to track at. So if you notice, we have yeses on several different departments that are set up. You may specify a higher level department such as engineering so that all child level departments roll up to this parent. In effect, the child departments will share budgets. This budget level flag applies to class, department, location, and account dimensions within NetSuite. Let's go back to the budget detail. Let's edit the budget and click on the Budget Detail tab. We will enter in some basic information for a budget line item, such as the account, which is the utilities account. We will choose the channel sales account. CSEG1 is actually a custom segment, so PyanGo does work with NetSuite custom segments, so they can be applied. And then the department, let's pick product management, and notice that we receive this pop-up warning message indicating that the department, the budget level flag, has not been turned on for this specific department. So we need to fix that. I'll go back in and use the BCS development department, and we'll use our West Coast warehouse and our US West subsidiary, and then I can specify amount. So we'll say $5,000 for this particular budget. Press OK, and then we can save the transaction or save the budget definition. You can add additional lines as needed. Typically, you will not be using PyanGo to manage budgets directly in this fashion. You will use a tool such as NetSuite's Advanced Financial Planning, otherwise known as Adaptive, to create budgets. Budgets can be exported into spreadsheets from Adaptive or other tools. And so this flowchart kind of shows the process here of defining budgets, approving them within Adaptive, then exporting them from adaptive, we can import them into the core budget within NetSuite if needed, or directly input them directly into PyanGo. It is this process that we'll take a look at next, and look at how the CSV import tool can be leveraged to manage this data. Let's review a sample budget import CSV file. The layout is straightforward. One column per GL segment, and then the amounts listed over here on the right hand side. If you have a monthly budget, there would be a column per month or period. The data in the CSV has to match the segment values exactly. Ideally, you would use internal IDs of the NetSuite records, as is the case with the GL account. Otherwise, you can use the segment name, but in the case of hierarchy, you need to specify the entire path, including the colons, listed here for the engineering department and for the sales department. The budget amounts cannot have commas in the numbers, only decimal points if you need to go to that level. In this sample data file, we actually have a couple of errors. The internal ID for meals account is not correct, and the renewal class is not at a parent level. So let's see what happens during the import. So back in NetSuite, let's navigate to Setup, Import Export, and then Saved CSV Imports. I've already got this preloaded, and we deliver one CSV import definition in the adaptive format. You can use this as a template. I have already created another one for this demo right here. So I'm going to click on that, and note that the record type equals budget import. This is key for when creating this, because we're not actually importing to the budget definition record, but it is the budget import. This is a special staging area table that performs validation and creates budget activity records upon import. Choose the file to be selected for the import. So I've got one already set up. That was the one I was just editing. I'll press Next. And we can use the default add option. We'll always be adding new records. And then click on the advanced option and make sure that Run Server Suite Script and Trigger Workflows is checked on. This is a new feature in NetSuite that individual import definitions can have server scripting turned on. Click Next. This next page is the data and field mapping page, which is key to successfully importing the budget data. You should explicitly name the budget definition that is going to be used. In this case, it's going to be budget 23, and then change the account. By default, the account will, or the fields will, use the names option, but we want to use the internal ID. It turns out that accounts act a little odd on the CSV import. Instead of using the complete hierarchy, it always uses the lowest level account name. And so that can be a little confusing if you have lots and lots of expense accounts. So internal ID is a better choice. You can still use names, but you just have to manage it more carefully. So I'm going to choose the internal ID option and then click Next. Actually, I'm going to choose just to run this. And then I can go look at my budget import status. And from here, I only had 1 out of 4 records being imported successfully. Let's take a look at my CSV response file. So I have on the first record an invalid account. This is the actual internal field name, but that's the account reference. So remember, our internal ID is messed up. And then we have invalid classes for the next 2 values. And that means the renewal, and then I think we had an issue on direct sales renewal. Before fixing it, let's take a quick look at the budget detail, and we do see that we have a new line item that has just been added to our budget detail. This first one was created previously by just doing manual data entry. Okay, if we look at the class setup here, we have direct sales and then new business new, and then renewal is actually underneath that. So that is why this particular one had failed. I'm going to change that to channel sales renewal and paste that in, and that should fix both of those where I had just renewal and then the direct sales renewal. So again, here's a case where it gets really difficult to map the names that are in NetSuite with the colons, with the hierarchy, to the specific class or dimension that we're interested in. So now I'm targeting this bottom particular class. Let's take a look at the account definition, and it turns out that 85 is the correct internal ID for meals and entertainment. So I'm going to change that back to 85 here and then save my CSV file. Okay, and I've reloaded my import definition, and now I'm going to go ahead and run the import again. And at this point, we see that 4 out of 4 records have been imported successfully. Again, if I look at the CSV response, that'll show up just as all records imported successfully, so we're in good shape there. Let's go back to our budget definition and refresh the page, and we will see that if we look at the budget detail, we now have 4 records, and also notice that we have actually 5 records because we did change the class on one of these, and we have $8,000 for that original amount. So if we look at the spreadsheet here with the amounts, these amounts here will replace the original values, if there's a match, with the budget in the budget definition in NetSuite. So it's a replace action, not an increment or delta action that is occurring. Thanks for watching this video on maintaining and importing budgets into PyanGo. And remember, PyanGo helps smart organizations change the world.